Ladies and gentlemen, fasten your seatbelts because we are about to embark on a musical journey that transcends time, genre, and reality. The year is 2026, and the global phenomenon BTS is gearing up for a world tour that promises to be nothing short of a celestial event. But here is the twist that has the entire industry holding its breath. This isn't just a comeback, it's a coronation. The rumor mill is on fire with reports that the Bangtan boys personally reached out, pleaded, and negotiated with 7 absolute titans of American music to share the stage with them. We are talking about the kind of legends whose vinyl records sit in museums, whose voices shaped the 20th century, and whose influence runs through the very DNA of modern pop. Can you imagine the sheer pressure? The audacity to ask? From the soulful echoes of Motown to the rebellious roar of rock and roll, who did RM and the crew desperately want by their side? Which icons politely declined, leaving the members heartbroken? And most importantly, who is the ultimate untouchable figure that finally broke their silence and said yes to the collaboration of the century? Is it a collaboration destined to break the internet, or a clash of eras waiting to implode? Prepare your hearts, Army, because what we are about to reveal changes everything you thought you knew about musical hierarchies. Are you ready to meet the 7 giants? Let's dive into the list. Number 7. Stevie Wonder. The architect of sound who sees with his heart, a visionary's gentle decline. You cannot talk about the history of American music without bowing down to the absolute genius that is Stevie Wonder, the man who didn't just play the piano but turned it into an extension of his very soul. And when the rumors first started swirling in early 2026 that BTS had placed him at the bottom of their Holy Grail list, the world gasped because if Stevie is number 7, who on earth could be number 1? We are talking about a living deity here, a man born Stevland Hardaway Judkins, who, despite losing his sight shortly after birth due to retinopathy of prematurity, he gained a vision for music that sighted mortals could only dream of achieving. Just imagine the scene in the Hybe boardroom in Seoul, RM, the leader with an intellectual appreciation for the roots of R&B, and V, the old soul of the group who breathes jazz and classical vibes, sitting there with a trembling hand, writing a personal letter to the man who gave us Superstition and Sir Duke. They didn't just want a cameo, they wanted Stevie to open the North American leg of the 2026 tour, to bring that harmonica magic to a stadium filled with army bombs. Why Stevie? Because before BTS was breaking barriers with language, Stevie was breaking barriers with sound and race in the 1970s, demanding creative control from Motown when nobody else dared, producing a string of albums known as the Classic Period Talking Book, Inner Visions, Fulfillingness's first finale, and the magnum opus Songs in the Key of Life, which are basically the Bible for anyone who claims to make music. The boys wanted to bridge the gap between the synthesized pop of the 21st century and the analog warmth of the 72nds, and they knew that Stevie's approval would be the ultimate seal of legitimacy. The narrative goes that the invitation was delivered not by an agent, but via a vintage vinyl recording of the members singing a specialized a cappella arrangement of Ribbon in the Sky, a tribute so pure it reportedly brought tears to the eyes of Stevie's management team. We have to remember the weight of this legend. This is the man who campaigned tirelessly to make Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday a national holiday, utilizing his hit Happy Birthday as a political weapon of love, proving that music changes laws, a philosophy that resonates deeply with BTS's own Love Yourself campaign at the United Nations. The synergy was perfect on paper, the kings of Kpop meeting the king of Motown soul. However, as the negotiations deepened in a quiet studio in Los Angeles, the reality of a grueling 2026 world tour clashed with the peaceful rhythm of a legend in his twilight years. Stevie Wonder, with that iconic smile and rocking motion that has comforted millions, reportedly sat down with the members via a video call, his voice raspy with wisdom, and expressed a profound gratitude that these 7 young men from Korea revered his work so deeply. He spoke about the universality of music, how it doesn't need eyes to be seen, only a heart to be felt. But then came the heartbreaking no. It wasn't a rejection of their talent, it was a rejection of the chaos. Stevie, who has spent decades touring, admitted that the magnitude of what BTS was planning, the pyrotechnics, The frenzy, the relentless travel was something his spirit wasn't aligned with for 2026. He wanted to focus on his charitable works and intimate performances, not the stadium-shaking thunder that BTS commands. He told them, "You have the torch now, run with it, you don't need me to hold your hand," a statement that reportedly left Jimin and Jungkook in emotional shambles. It was a rejection wrapped in a blessing, a moment where the past acknowledged the future, but declined to step back into the gladiatorial arena of a world tour. Think about the cultural impact if he had said yes. Imagine Higher Ground remixed with the rap line's verse. Imagine the funk of Butter blending into I Wish. It would have been a masterclass in musical evolution. But his refusal set the tone for this list. It proved that BTS wasn't just looking for clout, they were looking for musical spiritualism, and even though Stevie declined the tour, rumors persist that he secretly contributed a harmonica solo to a track on their upcoming album as a parting gift. A secret yes, hidden inside the public no. This near miss was the first domino to fall. The reality check that showed the boys that getting legends on board wouldn't be about money or fame, it would be about alignment, spirit, and timing. It was a soft, soulful start to a hunt that would only get more aggressive, more desperate, and more shocking as they moved up the list. If Stevie Wonder, the man with 25 Grammy Awards, was the one who got away, it only fueled the fire for the members to aim even higher, to find someone who still had that hunger for the stadium roar. The rejection by the piano prodigy wasn't a failure. It was the fuel that ignited the engine for the rest of this insane quest. It left the fans wondering, if the man who sees with his heart said no, who could possibly have the grit to say yes? The bar was set astronomically high, and the boys were just getting started, leaving the ghost of a Motown collaboration lingering in the air like a sweet melody that ends too soon. Number 6. Madonna. The unapologetic queen of pop who rewrote the rules of rebellion, an encounter with the matriarch of reinvention. If Stevie Wonder was the soulful spirit BTS sought for their musical foundation, then the next legend on their list was the absolute architect of the modern pop spectacle, the woman who taught the entire industry that a concert isn't just a gig, it's a revolution, a provocation, and high art wrapped in controversy. And when the leaks surfaced that Hybe had dared to approach the material girl herself, the internet almost collapsed under the sheer weight of the what-if scenarios. We are talking about Madonna Louise Ciccone, the woman who didn't just break the glass ceiling, she shattered it, danced barefoot on the shards, and built a throne from the debris. The audacious plan for the 2026 tour wasn't just to have her sing a chorus. Oh no, the vision driven largely by the performance powerhouse quartet of J-Hope, Jimin, and Jungkook was to create a Vogue meets Black Swan interlude that would have gone down in history as the greatest dance break of all time. Picture this. The darkly romantic aesthetic of BTS's Blood, Sweat, and Tears colliding with the religious iconography and Jean-Paul Gaultier, corseted ferocity of Madonna's Blonde Ambition era. The boys flew to New York City, treating the mission like a diplomatic summit, carrying with them a dossier of concepts that bridged the gap between the gritty Lower East Side of 1980s New York, where Madonna clawed her way up from nothing, eating popcorn for dinner, and the neon-soaked streets of Seoul, where BTS forged their own underdog story. They connected on the level of the hustle, the relentless drive to survive in an industry that wants to chew you up and spit you out. Madonna is the blueprint for longevity. She is the one who took the MTV generation by the throat with Like a Virgin, rolled around on the floor in a wedding dress, and told the world she wouldn't be silenced. BTS, who constantly battle against the factory-manufactured stereotype, saw in her the ultimate symbol of agency and control. They wanted to learn from the master of reinvention, the artist who shifted from the disco pop of Holiday to the spiritual electronica of Ray of Light, mirroring BTS's own shape-shifting discography. The meeting, rumored to have taken place in a private section of an exclusive art gallery in Chelsea, was described by insiders as electrifyingly tense. Madonna, looking every bit the ageless icon, reportedly listened to their pitch with the intensity of a hawk. She grilled RM and Suga on their artistic intent, asking them if they were ready to truly offend people, to push buttons, because for Madonna, art without provocation is just decoration. This is where the friction began, the clash between the idol culture of maintaining a pristine image and Madonna's ethos of unapologetic rawness. She challenged them, Are you willing to be hated to be loved? It was a philosophical gauntlet thrown down by the woman who burned crosses in Like a Prayer and published The Sex Book when the world told her to sit down. The negotiation didn't fail over money. Hybe has deep pockets. It failed over the concept of the spotlight. Madonna, true to her nature as the alpha female of pop, reportedly told the boys that she does not open for anyone, nor does she do guest appearances that she cannot fully control and direct. She creates worlds. She doesn't just visit them. The idea of merging her distinct, often rated artistic vision with the global, diverse, and family-encompassing army demographic created a logistical and creative nightmare that even the best producers couldn't solve. She looked at the 7 young kings and gave them a piece of advice that was worth more than a contract. You are the moment now. Don't dilute your narrative by trying to borrow mine. Own your throne. It was a rejection that stung but empowered them. She declined the 2026 tour invitation because she is reportedly curating her own final retrospective experience, a biopic project that demands her full attention, and she refused to be a side note in the BTS history book. She is the whole library. Imagine the missed opportunity, though. The thought of Madonna and Jimin doing a contemporary dance duet, or J-Hope locking and popping alongside the Queen during a remix of music, is enough to make a pop historian weep. Her refusal solidified the reality that BTS was now operating at a level where they were peers with the giants, negotiating terms with the woman who defined celebrity itself. It was a cold splash of water, a reminder that in the world of legends, egos are as massive as the talent, and sometimes 2 supernovas cannot coexist in the same orbit without destroying the gravity of the show. Madonna's no was a masterclass in boundary setting, leaving BTS with the realization that they needed someone who could blend with them, not overpower them. The Queen stayed on her throne, and the boys walked away with a lesson in power, leaving the slot for number 6 empty, and the search for the perfect collaborator becoming more urgent as the tour dates drew closer. Number 5. Bruce Springsteen. The boss of the boardwalk who challenged the idols to bleed, a collision of sweat and stardust. If there is one name that is synonymous with the relentless, beating heart of American live performance, it is Bruce Springsteen, the boss. A living, breathing monument to the power of rock and roll, who has spent over 5 decades proving that a concert is not a show, it is a spiritual revival. And when the news leaked that BTS had approached him for the 2026 tour, music critics were baffled, fans were bewildered, but true connoisseurs understood exactly why Hybe made the call. You have to understand the context here. BTS was preparing for the Eternal Tour, a concept built on longevity and connection. And who better to teach them about eternity than the man who released Born to Run in 1975 and is still selling out stadiums in the 2020s? The narrative is that Jin, the eldest member who carries the weight of military service and brotherhood, and RM, the philosophical leader, were the driving forces behind this audacious bid. They didn't want Bruce for a dance track. They wanted him for an anthem. They envisioned a mashup of BTS's Spring Day, a song about loss, memory, and longing blended with the acoustic, harmonica-laced sorrow of Springsteen's The River, or the uplifting roar of Badlands. It was a genius concept. The Spring Day of Korea meeting the glory days of America. The meeting reportedly took place at Springsteen's legendary home studio in Colts Neck, New Jersey, a sanctuary of rock history filled with vintage Telecasters and the ghosts of the E Street Band. Picture the scene, the global idols, dressed in impeccably styled designer wear, sitting across from the boss, clad in his signature flannel and denim, looking like he just walked off a construction site. This is the man who wrote Born in the USA, an album that was often potentially misunderstood as blind patriotism, but was actually a scathing critique of the treatment of Vietnam veterans, showcasing his deep lyrical complexity that rivals the social commentary found in BTS's own BTSjk, or Am I Wrong? The synergy of social consciousness was there. Bruce, with his gravelly voice that sounds like tires on a gravel road, welcomed them with the warmth of a father figure. He was impressed by their work ethic. He knew about the practice hours, the blood, sweat, and tears literally that Kpop demands. But here's where the dream hit the wall of reality. Bruce Springsteen's philosophy of live performance is diametrically opposed to the Kpop model. BTS shows are masterpieces of production, timing, lighting, and synchronization. Everything is calculated to the millisecond to ensure perfection for the fans. Bruce? Bruce is chaos controlled only by his hand signals. He changes set lists mid-show, he takes requests from signs in the crowd, he drags songs out for 10 minutes if the vibe is right. During the negotiations for the 2026 collaboration, Bruce reportedly asked the boys, "If the power goes out and the screens die, can we still hold the crowd for 2 hours with just our voices?" It was a challenge, not an insult. He felt that joining a tour that was so heavily scripted and technologically dependent would suffocate his E-Street spirit. He told them that his fans expect the unpredictable, the raw, the mistakes that make the magic, whereas BTS fans deserve the perfection they are promised. The no from Bruce wasn't about ego, it was about the sanctity of the stage. He couldn't be a guest in a machine, he needed to be the engine. He famously declined by saying, "You guys are flying spaceships, I'm still driving a '69 Chevy. We both get to the moon, but the ride is different." It was a poetic rejection that left RM deeply reflective. Imagine the loss for the world, though. The image of Jungkook harmonizing with Bruce on Thunder Road, or the rap line trading verses over the saxophone solo of Born to Run, is a what-if that will haunt the 2026 tour forever. Bruce's refusal was a testament to his authenticity. At 76+ years old, he refuses to compromise the grit that made him a legend. He sent the boys away, not with a contract, but with a vintage harmonica and a piece of advice. Don't let the lights blind you to the people in the back row. It was a moment of passing the torch without joining the race. The number 5 spot remains a testament to the fact that some legends are too big, too raw, and too grounded to ever truly fit into the pop machinery, no matter how global it becomes. BTS walked away from New Jersey with their hearts full but their lineup still empty, realizing that to find their perfect match they might have to look for someone who bridges the gap between the organic and the synthetic, leading them to the next name on this insane list. Number 4. Eminem. The rap god who retreats into the shadows, a lyrical duel that ended in mutual silence. If there is one artist whose poster was taped to the bedroom walls of Kim Namjoon, RM, and Min Yoongi, Suga, long before they were global superstars, it is Marshall Mathers, the one and only Eminem. A man who didn't just participate in hip-hop culture, but kicked down the door, rearranged the furniture, and set the house on fire with his intricate rhyme schemes and blistering speed. And when the news broke in closed circles that BTS had officially invited him to headline the Cypher segment of their 2026 World Tour, the sheer audacity of the request left industry insiders breathless. You have to understand the gravity of this specific ranking. For the BTS rap line, Eminem is not just a legend, he is the textbook, the standard, the Olympus of lyricism. The concept pitched by Hybe was a masterstroke of musical aggression. A mic drop remix that would segue into Lose Yourself, culminating in a rap battle between Suga, August D, and Slim Shady himself in the center of Wembley Stadium. The boys traveled to Detroit, not to a flashy office, but to Eminem's private, fortress-like studio, a place where the air is thick with the history of the D12 era and the ghosts of 8 Mile. The narrative paints a picture of extreme nervousness. Jay, Hope, usually the sunshine of the group, was reportedly dead silent, absorbing the aura of the place. Eminem, known for his reclusive nature and aversion to the glitz of the modern celebrity machine, met them wearing a simple hoodie, eyes sharp and analyzing. This was a clash of two very different hip-hop worlds, the disciplined, choreographed, and polished world of K-pop rap versus the chaotic, battle-hardened, and controversial roots of American Detroit rap. The conversation, which lasted for hours, wasn't about contracts or money. Eminem has turned down amounts that would buy small countries. It was about the pen. RM, well fluent in English and acting as the bridge, spoke passionately about how Eminem's The Marshall Mathers LP taught him that he could speak his truth, no matter how ugly, a sentiment that fueled BTS's own Map of the Soul era. They wanted him to validate their journey from idols to artists, to stand with them and silence the critics who still claim K-pop can't be real hip-hop. Eminem, who was a student of the game, reportedly showed immense respect for their technical ability. He had done his homework. listening to Suga's Da Chwita and RM's Wild Flower, acknowledging that their flow and cadence were world-class. He told them, "You guys are spiting fire in a language I don't speak, but I feel the heat," a compliment that allegedly made Suga tear up. But then came the no, and it was a rejection born from a place of profound introspection. Eminem explained that his current phase of life is about preservation, not expansion. He told the boys that the energy required to match BTS the lasers, the screaming millions, the synchronized perfection was a young man's game, a game he had played, won, and retired from. He is a lone wolf now, a technician who prefers the solitude of the booth to the spectacle of the stadium tour. He admitted that stepping into the BTS universe, which is so colorful and globally connected, might dilute the dark, gritty authenticity he has fought to maintain in his later years. He didn't want to be a prop in their show, he wanted to be a peer. And as a peer, he felt the collaboration would feel forced, like mixing oil and water. He famously told them, "I battle demons in my head, you guys battle them on stage. It's a different war." The rejection was gentle but firm. He declined the tour because he refused to let the Slim Shady persona become a caricature in a pop concert setting. However, the story doesn't end in total tragedy. Rumors suggest that before they left Detroit, Eminem took the rap line into the booth for a private, unrecorded freestyle session, a holy moment that will never be heard by the public, just a memory for the members to cherish. He signed a vintage microphone for them with the inscription, "Keep the fire, don't let the fame freeze you," a mantra that RM reportedly had framed in his studio in Seoul. The failure to secure Eminem for the 2026 tour was a blow to the hard image BTS wanted to project, leaving a gaping hole in the setlist where the ultimate hip-hop tribute was supposed to be. It forced the group to realize that some heroes are meant to be admired from afar, and that their own hip-hop identity was strong enough to stand without the validation of the American giants. Number 4 on the list represents the ultimate "what if," a collaboration that would have shattered the language barrier of rap once and for all, but instead, it remains a silent respect between the kings of K-pop and the god of rap. Leaving us moving into the top 3 with a sense of awe and a desperate need to know, if the rap god said no, who is left that is bigger, brighter, and willing to say yes? The countdown is getting hotter, and the next name is going to bring a level of vocal power that might just crack the stadium glass. Number 3. Beyoncé. The Queen Bey who demands absolute perfection, a clash of empires that shook the hills of Bel Air. If there is a single name that commands instantaneous silence and reverence in every corner of the music industry, it is Beyoncé Giselle Knowles-Carter, the cultural monolith who transformed from a girl group lead singer into a global deity of performance art. And when the Whisper Network confirmed that BTS had secured a face-to-face audience with Queen Bey herself for the 2026 World Tour, the collective blood pressure of the ARMY and the Beyhive went through the roof. You have to visualize the magnitude of this ambition. This wasn't just asking for a feature. This was BTS, specifically the dance line of J-Hope, Jimin, and Jungkook, seeking the ultimate validation from the woman who gave us Homecoming, the woman who marched an entire HBCU marching band onto a stage and rewrote the history of Coachella. They didn't want a simple duet. The proposal, drafted by the finest creative directors at Hybe and personally annotated by taehyung, was for a Renaissance meets Map of the Soul segment, a 20-minute theatrical experience where the distinct military precision choreography of BTS would merge with the soulful, hip-swaying, hair-flipping power of Beyoncé's all-female band and dancers. The vision was to remix Black Swan with Formation, creating a commentary on the pressure of fame that would shatter the glass screens of every stadium in 2026. The meeting took place in the most exclusive, heavily guarded estate in Bel Air, a fortress of privacy where Beyoncé and Jay-Z reside. The description of the scene is like something out of a movie. The 7 members of BTS, usually the center of attention, walking into a room that smelled of expensive candles and absolute power, feeling like students entering the headmaster's office. Beyoncé, radiant and terrifyingly calm, reportedly welcomed them not as a pop star but as a matriarch. She knew their stats, she knew their impact, she had seen the clips of Jungkook covering her songs. The mutual respect was palpable. V, who has often cited the aura of American R&B as his inspiration, was reportedly mesmerized. But here is where the dream collided with the unyielding wall of Beyoncé's work ethic. Beyoncé does not do casual. She does not drop by for a tour. For Beyoncé, a performance is a thesis statement. It requires months of grueling rehearsal, specific lighting rigs that she controls, and a sound mix that she personally engineers. As they sat in that sun-drenched living room, she reviewed the schedule of the BTS 2026 tour, the back-to-back dates, the flying between continents, the chaotic energy of a Kpop schedule. She looked at them with that maternal yet regal gaze and delivered the no that shook the room. She explained that to join them, even for a segment, would require her to overhaul their entire production to meet her standard of Beyoncé perfection. She couldn't just step into their world. She would consume it. She famously told J-Hope, "Your choreography is flawless, but my stage is a different gravity. If I can't give you 100% of my soul, I won't give you 1% of my name." It wasn't a rejection of their talent, it was a rejection of the compromise. She refused to be a special guest because Beyoncé is never a guest, she is the event. She also reportedly cited the scheduling conflict with her own top-secret visual project, a legacy piece that she has been crafting for years, which required her full, undivided spirit. The logistical nightmare of merging the ARMY culture with the BeyHive, two of the most intense fandoms on the planet, was also a risk factor. She was protecting them as much as she was protecting herself. The rejection was delivered with grace. She reportedly invited them to a private dinner afterwards, sharing stories about the toll of stardom and advising them on how to protect their mental health in their 30 seconds. The collaboration that died in that Bel Air mansion was the eighth wonder of the world that never was. Imagine the visuals. The boys in Balmain, Beyoncé in custom Mugler, standing side by side as the opening notes of Crazy in Love blended with DNA. It would have been the moment pop culture peaked. Instead, BTS walked away with a lesson in sovereignty, learning that true power is the ability to say no to the biggest opportunity in the world if it doesn't align with your artistic soul. Number 3 is the queen who stayed in her castle, leaving the throne empty, and the boys to wonder, if perfection herself said no, is there anyone left who is wild enough to say yes? The list narrows to 2, and the next name is a curveball that will leave you absolutely breathless. Number 2, Mariah Carey. The songbird supreme who hits notes only angels can hear, a high-note showdown that ended in a diva's whisper. If there is one name that is synonymous with the absolute pinnacle of American vocal excellence, a name that evokes images of diamonds, butterflies, and a 5-octave range that defies the laws of physics, it is the incomparable Mariah Carey. And when the leaks began to surface in the spring of 2026 that BTS had formally requested her presence for the North American leg of their Eternal World Tour, the collective jaw of the music industry hit the floor. You have to understand the specific artistic ambition here. This wasn't about choreography or rap battles. This was a mission driven by the vocal line of BTS, specifically Jimin and Jungkook, who have grown up idolizing the R&B runs and falsetto mastery that Mariah invented. The concept pitched by Hybe was breathtakingly ambitious. A Ballad of the Century segment, where the boys would perform an orchestral arrangement of The Truth Untold, which would seamlessly transition into Mariah's Hero or One Sweet Day, culminating in a harmonized whistle note battle between Jimin and Mariah that would likely shatter the windows of every stadium from Los Angeles to New York. The boys reportedly traveled to Mariah's legendary penthouse in Tribeca, New York City, a space known as her glittering sanctuary, filled with her awards and an atmosphere of perpetual glamour. The narrative describes the scene as a meeting of royalty, the 7 members, dressed in sleek, modern Yves Saint Laurent suits, entering the domain of the ultimate diva, who welcomed them while reclining on a velvet chaise lounge, looking ageless and radiant. The chemistry was reportedly instant and hilarious. Mariah, known for her sharp wit and I don't know her playfulness, was charmed by the boys' genuine reverence. Jin, the worldwide handsome, reportedly made her laugh by bringing her a specialized bouquet of purple roses and a rare vintage of champagne, acknowledging her festive status. They bonded over the struggles of the industry, the pressure to maintain perfection, and the love for their fans. The ARMY and the Lambily are 2 of the most protective forces on the internet, and a union between them would have created a digital superpower. Mariah listened to their demo, a lush, vocal-heavy track written specifically for her and the vocal line, and she admitted that it was exquisite. She praised Jungkook's ad-libs and V's soulful baritone, acknowledging that they were true vocalists, not just manufactured stars. But then came the no, and it was a rejection delivered with the signature Mariah flair, dramatic, affectionate, but absolute. She explained to the boys that her voice is a delicate instrument, one that she has spent decades protecting from the harsh elements of stadium tours. The sheer schedule of the BTS 2026 tour, outdoor venues, unpredictable weather, the grueling pace was a risk she simply couldn't take at this stage in her legendary career. She told them, "Darlings, I don't do wind, I don't do rain. And I certainly don't do 3-hour sound checks in 90-degree heat." It was a rejection based on self-preservation and the maintenance of her Mimi mystique. She also reportedly felt that her presence might shift the focus from the band's new era to a nostalgia act, and she wanted them to shine as the main vocalists of their own story. She famously told Jimin, "You have your own wings, you don't need my butterflies to fly," a poetic letdown that reportedly left the members feeling both heartbroken and honored. The collaboration that dissolved in that New York penthouse represents the vocal Bible that never was. Imagine the visuals. Mariah in a gown with a 20-foot train descending from the ceiling on a moon prop, while BTS serenades her below. It would have been camp, it would have been art, it would have been iconic. Her refusal cemented the fact that the #2 spot wasn't just about fame, it was about the physical reality of being a legend. The spirit was willing, but the requirements of the idol tour life were simply incompatible with the lifestyle of the songbird supreme. BTS walked away from Tribeca with signed copies of her memoir and a lesson in diva-level boundary setting, leaving the #2 spot empty and the entire world looking at the final #1 spot with wide eyes. If the Voice of America said no, who on God's green earth is the #1 legend who finally, miraculously said yes? The wait is over. The summit is here. Number 1. Bruno Mars. The Hawaiian lion who brings the 24K magic. A funk explosion that will melt the globe. This is it, the moment the timeline splits and reality becomes a fantasy, because the artist occupying the #1 spot, the only legend on this entire godforsaken list who actually looked RM in the eye and said, "Let's make history," is none other than the modern king of funk, the 15-time Grammy Award winner, the man who turned the Super Bowl into his personal house party not once but twice, Mr. Bruno Mars. When the official press release from Hybe drops in late 2026, confirming that Bruno Mars will be the special guest co-headliner for the grand finale segment of the BTS World Tour, the internet won't just break, it will disintegrate into a cloud of glitter and confetti. To understand the magnitude of this yes, you have to understand the journey that led here. After the polite but firm rejections from the elder statesmen of music like Stevie Wonder and Bruce Springsteen, the mood in the BTS camp was reportedly somber. They needed someone who commanded respect but still had the hunger, someone who was a legend but also a peer, someone who could match the relentless, high-octane choreography of the Dynamite era. Enter Peter Jean Hernandez, the boy from Honolulu who grew up impersonating Elvis Presley and performing in family reviews, a backstory that resonates deeply with the trainee struggles of BTS. The narrative of this successful negotiation is destined to be a movie script. It didn't happen in a boardroom or a lawyer's office. It happened in the neon-soaked, velvet-draped sanctuary of Bruno's private recording studio in Las Vegas, arguably the entertainment capital of the world. The boys of BTS, specifically the Sunshine line of J-Hope and V, along with the golden maknae Jungkook, flew to Vegas under the cover of darkness, treating this mission as their final stand. They knew that Bruno Mars is the architect of Uptown Funk, a song that spent 14 weeks at #1 and defined a decade, and his project Silk Sonic with Anderson. Pac proved he could share the spotlight without losing his shine. The meeting was described by insiders as less of a negotiation and more of a musical combustion. Bruno, wearing his signature sunglasses indoors and holding a glass of rum, didn't ask about ticket sales or streaming numbers. He asked about the groove. He reportedly sat at the piano, played a complex jazz chord, and looked at V, taehyung, challenging him to harmonize. V, a massive fan of jazz and soul, didn't hesitate. He jumped in with his deep baritone, and within minutes, the room was filled with an impromptu jam session that left the lawyers and managers stunned into silence. This was the key that unlocked the door. Bruno Mars doesn't care about clout, he cares about chops. He saw in BTS the same relentless perfectionism that he demands of his own band, the Hooligans. He saw 7 young men who, like him, had to fight for every inch of recognition in an industry that often tried to box them in. The connection was visceral, but the yes wasn't easy. Bruno is notoriously protective of his brand and his time. The tipping point, according to the legend that will be told for generations, came when J-Hope and Jimin demonstrated a dance break choreography they had designed specifically for a mashup of Run BTS and 24K Magic. They danced with such ferocity, such precision, and such joy that Bruno reportedly stood up, threw his hat across the room, and shouted, "That's what I'm talking about." It was the recognition of real game, recognizing real game. The agreement they signed is not just for a guest appearance, it is for a full 30-minute collaborative set that will close every show of the North American and Asian legs of the 2026 tour. Imagine the set list. A funk-heavy remix of Butter featuring Bruno on the guitar, trading riffs with Suga. A vocal showdown between Jungkook and Bruno on Talking to the Moon that will likely cause mass hysteria. And a finale involving Perm and Idol, where the Hooligans and BTS backup dancers merge into an army of rhythm. The deal also reportedly includes a stipulation that Bruno will produce 1 track for BTS's next album, a thank you gift that is worth more than gold. This collaboration is the vindication of BTS's decade-long journey. They started by covering Bruno's songs in small practice rooms, and now they are sharing the biggest stages in the world with him as equals. It's a full-circle moment that proves that while the older legends like Madonna and Stevie paved the road, it is the modern legends like Bruno who are willing to drive the car with you. The yes from Bruno Mars is the energy injection that the 2026 tour needed, saving the narrative from one of almosts to one of absolute triumph. It sends a message to the world that music has no language barrier, only a funk barrier. And BTS and Bruno just broke the sound barrier together. The tour is no longer just a concert. It is a celebration of showmanship, a testament to hard work, and a party that will leave the entire planet hungover on happiness. The list is complete, the contracts are signed, and as the lights go down in 2026 and the silhouette of Bruno Mars appears alongside the 7 silhouettes of BTS, we will know that we are witnessing the golden age of pop performance. Ladies and gentlemen, the #1 legend has entered the building, and the roof is about to blow off.